Hello, everyone, and welcome to Game Center Live. This is the live stream talk show straight from the NYU Game Center. It's Tuesday, March 22nd. Welcome back from spring break. How was everyone's spring break? Let us know in chat. We've got a great show planned for today. First, you'll be hearing from Charles Pratt and Seth Royston in a brand new segment, Never Been Played. We dug through the Game Center's library, our enormous collection, to find a game that's never been checked out before, which today is Sega Bass Fishing for the Dreamcast. In the second half of our show, you will once again be hearing from Naomi Clark for the Discourse. She will be joined by visiting assistant arts professor Mattie Brice for a conversation about metaverse hype and the more serious topic of abusive behavior at indie studios. That's all coming up, but first we have some announcements. Playtest Thursday is happening every Thursday, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. This is our casual weekly meetup where you can bring your work-in-progress games and get feedback. We can only have NYU students here in person at the moment, but if you would like to virtually join Playtest Thursday, we've got an option for you, and the link with more info is in the chat. Press play. It's like a book club for video games, or just games in general, board games, anything you want. Saturdays from 1 to 3 p.m., head to the NYU Game Center Open Library to play and discuss a game from the library's incredible collection. This event is happening in person, and all current NYU students and faculty are welcome. No prior knowledge of the game is needed. You'll play the game at the meetup. This Saturday's game is Disco Elysium. Why did I say it like that? Disco Elysium. Come on out and play. NYU Game Center Lecture Series presents Jesper Juhl. Thursday, March 24th, 7 p.m., second floor lecture hall, and live here on Twitch. Jesper Juhl will be joining us for the March Lecture Series. Jesper Juhl is one of the most well-regarded names in game scholarship, and he'll be here this Thursday to talk about the almost forgotten history of the Commodore 64. Then the following day, Friday, March 25th, 2 to 5 p.m. on the 6th floor co-working lab, Jesper Juhl will be running a hands-on design workshop about how to use new game theory to inform experimental new game design. This is only open to current NYU students, and the RSVP link is in chat. Exploring the NYU Game Center Tabletop Library. Monday, March 28th, 6 to 9 p.m., 6th floor lounge, Adjunct Gil Hova is launching a new event where you can come learn to play board game selections from our library. The first event next Monday will teach you how to play the classic game Acquire. This is for NYU students only, no RSVP necessary. Now for some news. Congratulations to the Studio Dry Dock team on the recent release of Wildflowers on Apple Arcade. This team is full of NYU Game Center alums, including lead writing and narrative designer Desiree Siffre, additional writing and narrative design from Elizabeth Balu, with QA lead Alexandra Liu, and assisted by Issa Deu. It's GDC week, and tons of NYU Game Center faculty, adjuncts, alums, and students are speaking and showing games. Head to our blog for a full schedule of where to see the NYU Game Center at GDC this week. Wednesday is the annual Independent Games Festival Awards. We're excited to cheer on the two nominees for Best Student Game from the NYU Game Center. And that would be Letter Lattice by Ethan Zarov and Nine Eyes Recipe by Fan Fang and Mai Hao. Congratulations, and we're excited to watch tomorrow evening. And lastly, for department announcements, March Madness is in the NYU Game Center Library. For the next month, games from the library will be competing in head-to-head matchups to see which game is the most popular. The game with the most plays throughout the week moves on to the next round. Come fill out a bracket to see if you can guess who will be the champion. Brackets are due this Friday, March 25th at 9 p.m. And without further ado, it's time to welcome onto the stream Charles and Seth. Take it away, Charles and Seth.
Thank you, Logan. That was a great introduction. Welcome, everybody. This is the first installment, as Logan said, of Never Been Played, where Logan and Gwenna have chosen a game that we didn't know beforehand. This is the first time we're hearing about it. That has never been played at the library, and we're going to play it. I'm here with Seth Royston. Seth, how you doing? Before we dive in, I want to learn a little bit more about you. So you're, I believe you're class of 24, right?
Yeah, class of 24.
So you're a
BFA.
sophomore?
Yeah.
Sophomore? All right. Well, how did you find your way to the Game Center?
Well, I guess I had always sort of wanted to be a game designer, and I'd applied to like various positions or various colleges for computer science until I learned from my cousin about NYU. So now I'm here.
Oh, well, very cool. Very cool. So today we are playing Sega Bass Fishing. Is that correct, Logan? All right, Sega Bass Fishing. Have you ever played this game before?
I've never played this game, and this is a lot of news for me. I haven't played a Dreamcast game.
All right, so you've never played a Dreamcast game.
No.
Never played this Dreamcast game.
No.
Neither have I. I've played a Dreamcast, but I have not played Sega Bass Fishing. So shall we jump in? Do you want to take the reins? So here's the Dreamcast controller. I don't know if you've ever held one before. Can the audience see? So the Dreamcast was Sega's follow-up to the Saturn. And it has a very famously strange controller that ended up being very prescient. I think the Xbox controller was based on it. It's one of the only controllers to have the wire come out of the bottom. So yeah, you wanna start us off? I think
Sure.
we're watching the tutorial right now where it tells us how to use all of these lures, but I think we're gonna just try to see if we can cast and then move around. So we have arcade mode. Okay,
Arcade mode.
we're all right. We're already lost. Arcade mode, original mode,
and practice mode.
Let's go with practice mode. All right,
Sure,
we are practicing. So let's see what we can do.
All right. Player select.
Who do you want to be?
Sure. Let's be this guy.
Okay, there we go.
Name
And,
entry.
we're gonna go ahead and put in. I think it's probably 3 letters is my guess. I haven't played this game before, but my guess is you only get 3 letters.
I'll just go AAA.
AAA, classic. The classic AAA. AAA. All right. So we don't know anything about these areas. So this is a fishing game, in case anyone hasn't picked up on that. It's a fishing game. So I assume there are different fish in these different locations.
Probably.
I don't know. I'll leave
looks
it
pretty
up to you.
cool.
The
It's
Cape?
all-
Okay, let's go to the Cape
Yeah.
on this kind of strange map. Oh, all right. So we
Fine.
get some weather.
Cloudy, rainy. Ooh.
Rainy feels like it would push the graphics card a little too hard. The graphics chip. Let's go with fine weather. It's fine.
That's work.
It's fine. Okay.
And time.
Oh my
It's
God!
like a
All
lot
right.
of things. Okay.
So we're now how many menus deep into
let's go with
playing this
noon.
game? Noon. All right. High noon on the Cape in fine weather. And here we go. Loading screen, of course. This is about the time actually in the history of consoles where loading screens became a thing. So the switch to disc-based video gaming. Before this, everything would have been much faster. All right. So here we are. All right. Now, the lure. Do you know anything about any of these lures?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Vibration lure.
A floating minnow, deep crank, shallow crank,
And
spinner bait,
the weird thing.
pencil bait. All right.
Huh.
So I would assume, knowing basically nothing about this game and also knowing very little about fishing, that different lures attract different kinds of fish.
Probably, yes.
So basically, you have to imagine a fish that would like one of these things, and that you have to say that's the fish you'd like to catch. Do you want a fish that finds a shallow crank really attractive? Does that sound like a kind of fish that you would want to meet?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well then let's go with that. Let's go with that. So now, all right, it looks like
I can.
You're
so
moving
I can
the
move
boat.
The,
Is that the
oh,
boat?
I moved the boat. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the boat, we're casting towards the shore, which I did not expect.
Okay.
But I guess
and
that's
then-
where fish hang out, like in the shallows. Oh no, wait. Okay.
We can move out here.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right. There's a weird shack over there. Is that as far as you can move?
looks like it.
Okay.
I can move like
can't-
forward or backward.
Yeah, we can't cast into the lake. All right. Well, okay.
Let's try this.
Boom.
All right.
And now we wait. As far as I know from what fishing is, now we wait. Reel it in. Reel it in.
Oh, how do I reel? Oh.
Okay. So is it spinning the controller?
I'm spinning the controller. I'm not sure if that's actually doing anything.
The triggers.
The triggers.
The triggers.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
That thing is moving. Oh, there's a fish.
Oh, there are fish.
Oh, look. It looks like one of them's a little interested.
Oh,
Come
whoa.
on. Get that shallow crank. I think you make it go down by pulling it. Is that right? So if you pull it, will it sink? Yeah, so
Yeah.
it sinks as you
But
reel.
then it floats up again.
So I think the idea is to like slowly bring it in low so that they notice it.
Yeah, it's hard to slowly bring it in though.
Is that right? Well, let's reel it in. Let's try this one more time. Okay. So
Yeah.
there's some fish. We can see them.
All right.
They've
So if I
all right.
go down here, reel it in a bit.
Yeah, just like kind of, yeah, there we go. There, yeah, make it a little wobbly. See that
Yeah.
wobble? Fish love that. Fish love that kind of thing. A shallow crank just wobbling there. Oh, all right.
Didn't look interested.
No, they did not. Okay. Well, all right.
Maybe that was
They've
the
come a lot
wrong
closer.
lure.
Maybe.
Gonna like move this a little.
I
Wonder
mean,
if
we could
there's
try
way
a
to-
different place on the shoreline, see if there are other fish that are more interested in the shallow
Yeah.
crank. Maybe the shallows are what the shallow crank is for.
All right. I'm gonna try
Okay.
that.
Plop. Okay, yeah, that is very shallow. Okay. I feel like I should have been paying attention to the attract mode where it went over all of these different lures and how they operate.
Yeah.
There's definitely some fish over there. That fish looked at the bait. All right, try again. And then maybe we should try different bait.
Yeah.
So, originally I believe this was sold with a controller that was shaped like a fishing rod, where you would like manually crank it, and so maybe you could get a little bit more
Yeah.
fine-tuned control out of it.
I saw
So-
that in the
so
attract
far-
mode
yes,
too. And
yeah,
that
yeah.
was like, it had like a little reel
Yeah,
crank that
yeah,
you could use to reel it in.
So let's, I guess let's try some different bait.
Right. Let's see. If there's a way to. Oh yeah. Oh, that's paused. Okay.
Okay.
Um.
Maybe spinner bait? Come on, who doesn't like
That works.
something fancy?
All right.
These fish, they're high class. They really, they only want the best.
I'm gonna try over here again.
Okay. Among the trees. Ooh, that one just sink. Is that you, or does it just sink?
Oh, it does sink.
Okay, so it sinks, and then you got to pull it to make it go. To make it spin, I guess.
Interesting. I wasn't expecting like different mechanics for different bait.
Yeah. That fish is maybe.
Okay.
It's looking. It's
You want
looking. It's looking. Oh, it took a nibble. They like this one. All right. Maybe we should try again. We almost got that one.
Yeah.
That fish was almost lured. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, the spinner definitely seems like a good option. There's a tree stump there, which is a little annoying. Oh. Come on, fish. Come on. He's coming. Oh, it's a little too fast. They can't keep up with it. Oh, there's another one. He's coming.
Coming.
Nope. Oh. Curious. Yes. All right. Now what happens? Fish. It just said fish.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Line
What?
tension. Yeah. All right. There
Got
we
him.
go. You caught a bass. Big one. 5
one.
pounds. And oh no, it's going down. Why is it going down?
I guess it's just.
Oh
telling
God,
you
it keeps dropping. What's happening to this fish?
It might be adding it to the score.
It's
or
less than
something.
a. Oh, I see. It's adding it to the score. Oh, I saw this. The fish was shrinking in your hands.
All right.
It's dehydrating instantly. All right, should I give it a shot? All right.
Sure.
So now you're the expert. Of the two of us, you're the only one who's caught a fish, virtual or actual. So what do I do? How do I cast?
Yeah, so you use the left and right arrows, or like the
Arrows?
D-pad or
Oh, the D-pad.
Um,
Oh, I see. So I'm selecting my spot.
you select your spot there.
Okay.
There's
I'm
no
gonna,
way to like.
I'm gonna
reel
keep
it
going
in.
with this spot. This seems like
yeah.
a lucky.
And
Okay.
then you press A to toss the line.
All right. Boom. One-handed. Did you see that? Fancy. Fancy stuff. Guy clearly knows what he's doing.
And then, yeah, you reel it in with both the
Both of them?
triggers.
Do I have to pull both of them or just one of them?
I'm not sure, actually. I used both of them, but...
Yeah, it seems like they both do the same thing.
Interesting. Maybe that's why I was going so fast.
Come on, fish. Come on. Yeah, you see it.
Ooh.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, it's definitely... It's weird how the perspective shifts.
It does
suddenly.
shift quite abruptly.
Oh. It's
That's
looking.
right, fish. That's right, fish.
Come on.
This is what you're here for.
You want to bite?
Come on. Oh, all right.
Not
Okay.
time.
Well, we're gonna try that again. Clearly, I'm not as good at this as you are. All right. We got our friend the Stump here. So maybe if I just like let it float down, then we won't outrun the fish. I don't know where the fish are. Can we? Oh, interesting. The stick also pulls it in.
Oh.
Yeah, quite dramatically too. Or can I pull it in slowly? All right. Oh, now it's not working. Very confusing. Okay. All right. Well, all the fish are gone. Did you see any fish in that?
I didn't know.
Okay. Let's try a different spot then. Should we try the shore fish again? Let's do the shore fish again.
What I find sort of interesting about this is that from what I know about fishing, it's definitely a lot of waiting.
Yes, this does seem very...
It seems
There's a lot
like they
going on.
sort of adjusted the way fishing works
right.
to make it a little more gamey.
Yes. It also, from what I know of fishing, you can't actually go under the water.
Oh.
I was inside that fish's mouth. And it just says fish, ! That's the best part of this game.
Turn the rod.
Turn the rod. How do I
All
turn the
right.
rod? I see. Come on, fish. Come on. Ooh. Oh, it's really fighting me.
Oh, man.
It's 5 pounds, 8 ounces too. Exactly the size of the last fish you got. All right, let's try that again. Yeah, I do not think of fishing as being this action packed, but maybe that's what bass fishing is like. Maybe bass fishing is like the extreme sports
Maybe.
of fishing.
This is what happens when you put two people who don't
know nothing
fishing
about fishing
together
or
in a
really about the
room to
Dreamcast.
Talk about fishing.
Yes. I can only assume because there's an arcade mode that this was an arcade game as well, which is fascinating to me. I think we've got Big Buck Hunter now, right? Is very popular. And I kind of wonder what the world would be like if Sega's Bass Fishing had been what every single hipster bar in Brooklyn decided to invest in rather than Big Buck Hunting. All right. So we've got some fish around here. I'm going to stick with this because I got one on the line, and if game theory teaches me anything, it's that you should keep trying the same thing over and over again.
Right.
If you get any kind of feedback whatsoever. Although it seems like they've emptied out. Oh, there's an old boat over there. Look at that boat.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like I can use the stick to actually move it back and forth, like side to side. Oh, come on, fish. Come on.
Okay.
You want to give this a shot. Look at this thing spin. How can you resist? Oh, man. This fish is very discerning. Come on, fish. Come on. Nope.
Oh.
Oh. All right, we have 10 more minutes of fishing, by the way. That's I just got the signal from Logan. We're going to be doing this for another 10 minutes. All right, let's see if I can get... Oh, all right. I'm going to cast one more time, and if I don't catch anything, we'll just go to a different location.
Or we could try another mode.
Or we could try another mode. I wonder if arcade mode... Oh, we could do arcade mode in the rain. Actually, I wonder if we can choose the. Yeah, we should remember this is practice mode right now.
Right.
I wonder if the fish are more.
More aggressive or.
Yeah, exactly. They just come right at you in this mode. You got to get used to the. You got to learn the parry in this mode. Oh, all right. Okay. All right. We got. Oh no! Too much line tension. Too much line tension. My bad. All right, I'm gonna
be honest. I'm not sure how I caught the one I did.
You're a natural, okay? You're don't be shy.
All right.
Don't okay. All right, I gotta be. Oh, rod right. Okay, it's trying to get out of my cone of vision, I guess. All right, come on, fish.
Okay, it's getting close.
Boom! There we go. What's the size? Fourth. All right, fair enough. All right. You beat me. You beat me on this one. Okay, so let's. I'll hand it back to you. We've now both caught a fish. We're both experts at this point. We don't need the practice mode any longer.
Uh-huh.
So let's try. I don't know. You want to select a different area, or maybe try arcade mode? See what that's like.
Try arcade mode.
All right. Okay. So what do you think so far of Sega Bass Fishing?
Oh, it's definitely
more or less fun than actual fishing.
Well, I can't really say on that.
No comparison point. All right, fair enough. It definitely does feel more action-packed, though.
It does, yes. Arcade mode.
That's a great gradient on that title, though. I guess that's the thing I've really gathered from this. Okay, you have 6 seconds. That's what makes an arcade mode. You only have 6 seconds to decide things. All right. You're required to get 11 pounds.
Oh.
That's, I think, what it said, right? Required 11 pounds? Okay. So I don't know if that's across multiple fish or just you get one giant fish. You have 2 minutes.
Okay. Oh, wow.
The spinner is the one we've had the most luck with.
Right, but maybe that was just for that fish. Okay.
It said easy.
Oh, it's easy. Okay.
It's at night. And you can tell it's by night because everything's just dim. They don't have any... They just turn down the...
Interesting.
Oh, there's some fish. So let it fall. It still spins when it falls, which I think is the secret to this particular kind of bait. Although these fish seem very uninterested in it. And you only have 1 minute and 30 seconds left, so...
I don't
Good luck, buddy.
Yeah.
This is also what my impression of fishing, which is that you're given a very strict low time limit to catch 11 pounds of fish. The water temperature, though, is 67.6 degrees Fahrenheit. I think you might need to try a different spot.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, those didn't look like bass. That's the really confusing bit. Also, why are they hanging out in a dam? This doesn't seem fair. It feels like we're at an unfair advantage here. We've cornered them in this dam. It's no wonder they're not eating. I would be stressed out too. Surrounded by concrete. Boom! Whoa. There we go. Okay, that's definitely a bass.
Okay.
Fish, hit bonus. Did you hit that fish?
I guess I hit him against the wall.
Wow. You can really knock some... This is why it's the arcade mode, because you can actually physically abuse the fish into submission. Turn the rod down.
Okay.
Okay. All right. It's coming in. Turn the rod right. That's left. It's going left. Okay. There we go. Okay.
Real.
Should I go into esports caster mode? All right. It's a big one. Seth says, oh, what? It disappeared? No? Okay.
There we go.
You can see it there. All right. That just came out of nowhere. Right out of the right scene.
Small one.
A very small one.
Great.
Okay. You've got got 10.
Oh, it gave me a little bit of time.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I guess the more score you get, the more time you have to...
Or it's just per fish, maybe. You still only have 15 seconds, though. So
yeah,
you have 15 seconds to catch 10 pounds of fish. So this... oh, wow! Okay. Ooh, this is going to be tough. It's like 8 seconds just to reel this thing in. You did get a hit bonus, though. I don't know what they get the hit bonus for. Okay. 2 seconds. 1 second. Ooh. Close. Very close. You were only 9.5 pounds short. Would you like to continue? You can quarter feed this game. Wow. Okay. Interesting. I guess that makes sense for an arcade game. All right. So we don't have that much longer. So let's discuss this video game. Now that we've both played, we're both experts in Sega Bass Fishing, or experts compared to literally anyone else who's ever come to the Game Center, because we're the only people who've ever played it. Let's start with the bottom line. Would you recommend to other Game Center students to come in and check out Sega Bass Fishing on the Dreamcast?
Well, I'd say yeah.
Yes?
If you want like a sort of an experience that's kind of like fishing, but we don't know if it's like fishing, because as we've established, neither of us fish. That's true.
And what we know about fishing is that it seems to be not at all like fishing, right? Like it seems to be very different from real fishing.
Right. But
so if you want something that's not at all like fishing, but has the trappings of fishing, it does have bait that has different styles. Is that a real fishing thing? Let's say that's a real fishing thing.
I'd say that's
okay. There you go. These were based on real fish, perhaps, right? Perhaps. We don't know, but we're gonna guess. Much like Call of Duty cares a lot about the guns being realistic, and this is like that's this for fish. Right. So if you love fish the way that people who play Call of Duty love guns, come play Sega Bass Fishing. If enough people play it, maybe we'll finally get the actual controller. The Dreamcast Bass Fishing controller. That would be cool. Be nice. I would definitely play this again with that controller. That seems cool. And I guess I think I would also recommend this game. It's actually I think it's actually historically more important than we're giving it credit for. I have heard of this game, which I'm surprised by, and I think it was for a while a very popular arcade game. We don't think about this much, but Sega was really as important in the arcade as it ever was in the home consoles. So I would love to even play this at an arcade. I wonder if there are any arcades in the world that still have an old Sega Bass Fishing system. So that's a recommendation from both of us, right?
Yeah. Come play Sega Bass Fishing.
Yeah. We are currently the experts. So if we're around, feel free to come ask one of us what's going on, what's happening, how am I hitting this fish, why is that a bonus? And we'll say that we don't know because we've only played this game for 15 minutes. But I think, with enough people coming out, checking out this game, getting good at it, we could have a real, competitive scene on our hands here at the Game Center, right? Yeah. Every third Sunday of the month, we'll have a little bass fishing tournament. Arcade mode only at night, only in the rain. Mm-hmm. That's the way we play it in New York. Anyway, I think that's about our time. So, Seth, I want to thank you so much for coming down. Yeah. This was a lot of fun. And this has been Never Been Played. And we played Sega Bass Fishing for the Sega Dreamcast here at the NYU Game Center Library.
Thanks so much for that, Charles and Seth. And I actually updated the lower third to say have been played with Charles and Seth since you have played this game. Thanks again for joining us on stream. Please bear with us as we set up for our next segment, which is The Discourse with Naomi Clark and Mattie Brice. Sit tight. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, please welcome to the stream Naomi Clark and Mattie Brice for The Discourse. Take it away, Naomi and Mattie.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Discourse. I'm joined today by Mattie, Brice, a fellow faculty member here at the Game Center, and I guess I would describe you as a retired discourser emeritus.
God.
Yeah, you used to be.
I hate the accuracy.
Yeah, it used to be like such a major part of online games discourse, always being like, I have an opinion about that.
I do.
And then at some point, within the last decade, sometime you were like, you know what? I've had enough of all of this.
Too much discourse.
But you came out of retirement recently, I think on Friday or Saturday, and we're going to be looking at what brought you out of retirement. But first, I wanted to let's start off a little lighter, and let's make fun of South by Southwest.
Yes. Something that I can do pretty easily and regularly.
All right. Yeah. So South by Southwest, this was they didn't have it in 2020, 21, 21.
Right.
And now they're back. But as this happens to a lot of conferences, like they get overtaken by like a swarm of locusts in the form of like whatever the latest tech hype thing is.
Mm-hmm.
And South by Southwest, I feel, is always maybe a little bit extra susceptible to this.
Yeah.
When was the last time you were at South by Southwest?
I think I actually went to either the second one, and I think I just went near it, and then was like, no, this place is evil. And then I didn't go. Because
it's, it sits right next to the South by Southwest film and music festivals and games especially. I mean, because South by Southwest is like basically a tech festival, right? And it's a little bit like what if Burning Man crashed into a corporate conference?
Yeah.
But, and games have always been a little bit off to the side. Like they used to put us in like a little hallway off to the side somewhere. But this article is saying, whoa, South by Southwest has been totally taken over by like metaverse NFT stuff. Mm-hmm. There are just some amazing quotes from this author's savage.
Oh my God.
This is the savaging of the whole thing, right? He's saying, talking about the Fluff House, which is for this organization called Fluff, and saying, and they had like a mantra being spoken. This is changing the future. This is the Fluff House. This is the Hume Collective. So remember why you are here. And it's all this stuff about like the power of community, right? Like that is the weird thing about this new wave is that they just say community all the time and like supporting artists, creative, like as if it means something.
Right. I think that because most people who are profiting off of crypto are just there for extraction purposes.
Right.
And that they know that there's a bunch of they have to rehabilitate their image, and so they're trying to figure out what are all these different ways in which we can kind of look better.
Well, they have to attract some people that will give it a veneer of.
Well, the thing is,
something
but it's also because they're kind of being attacked on all sides, right? They're the environmental costs, which so they still a lot of people don't answer for, and then this idea of we're helping artists, but not really talking about how that actually kind of manifests and how that kind of touches things. But also what I think was really interesting about the whole this is about community and helping people is that there are radical maybe not cryptocurrency people but decentralized currency people who are trying to make autonomous communities to not be dependent on oppressive world systems. And those people do exist, and they're kind of under the lodestone of this crappy crypto world, right? And so of course they'll be referenced every once in a while oh hey, those people
look at this great
exist.
Thing an autonomous organization, right? That's the decentralized autonomous organization thing, right. And some of them are just complete BS, yes. Right? They're we made a autonomous organization to buy the Constitution,
yes,
except it was, and they were and we're gonna buy it and then we're gonna burn the real copy, so it'll only be virtual forever,
right.
And it's
exactly.
And it really, so the funny thing is that in some of the times when these people are interviewed, it's the interviewer will press them hard enough, and eventually they'll be it's just really to try and make money from someone buying it. And it doesn't take that long, but so you just you scratch a little bit and it's there. And the best thing in this article was about this Fluff organization was saying that
someone did not have a queer person to check that name.
Yeah, or anyone who's ever worked in porn. and really to be like, it's just fluff is like an insult, like even in the venture capital world, right?
Oh, God.
But they're like, they want to have infinite scarcity to create highly curated worlds with a mix of the best elements of AAA games.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
Love it.
Who doesn't want a AAA game with infinite scarcity? You're always hungry. You never have enough.
This is the thing, kind of like, I'm kind of like, isn't this what you all wanted? Like, look, our lovely Ready Player One right here as a reference point, right? Like, to me, whenever people are kind of like, oh, I wanted like games to be validated as like this form of culture, well, congratulations, this is how it in this current form has been adapted. I do feel like we have a responsibility because like we are an imagination. We're kind of like the sort of imagination sector of tech.
For sure.
Right? Yeah, and so many people are adopting what we consider and what we're working on and pushing forward as fantasy material.
Yeah, because games are very aspirational for this crowd of people.
Yes.
Or they're just claiming like, oh yeah, it'll be a great game. It'll have all of the stuff that every other game that you love has.
Right.
And then the annoying thing to me is that there are people who've been around in the game industry for decades are now like, you guys don't understand how hard it is to make a game.
Yeah.
Which of course is true, but I'm like, oh my God, smug times 1 million has just come out.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think just like what is kind of interesting at work here is that at least we get to see the process of how someone is able to create the image of value while there is no thing of value there.
Or there's
and
like
still
really almost
have it.
nothing at all there.
But literally, right? And also not even need to have their own understanding of value in order to function in these spaces. So this is like, in this article, I feel like it's just a really good, just kind of like exaggeration of it all, of like, yeah, this is all stupid and everyone kind of knows it, but feels like just because there's a lot of money, that it should be validated in some way.
Right.
I think this should kind of tell us, like, whenever we hear this often in games, like, oh, a reason to pay attention to X game, X company, whatever, because they make a lot of money.
Right.
And therefore they're
because
important.
venture capitalists want to put a bunch of money somewhere.
But overall, like, it's still a negative for us because, like, well, if only paying attention to what makes money is what has value, then, like, where is that really steering us?
Right. Well, it does at least give you a sense of where is a gigantic black hole vortex that's sucking everything towards it. So it's like, I guess maybe that's why we pay attention to some of this business type of stuff on this show.
Right.
Is so that people know, like, okay, what's out there in the landscape as I prepare to sail my little ship out.
Right.
And actually, to that point, I think the next article there is about this, what was described as Meta or Facebook's surviving 9/11 VR game.
Do they call it an empathy game?
I don't think so. So here's the thing. So this was getting roundly lambasted on social media for being like, what? You want us to do a metaverse game where we're trapped for 27 hours under the rubble in the World Trade Center?
Wait, you're trapped for 27 hours?
Well, so here's the thing. So that piqued my interest.
Got me interested.
I was like, that's interesting. What is this? The 2022 version of Desert Bus, but with a 9/11 theme? But what it turns out it actually is, it's somebody who is a VR documentary maker, and they made a documentary about the last person who was rescued from 9/11, who had been trapped and who survived. Right? So it's like, okay, that's a fine idea for a documentary. VR documentary, sure, you know, they're trying to do something new. They have to make their mark. It's hard to be a documentary filmmaker, believe me. I've worked with a lot of them. But then, of course, because it's VR, they got some funding and sponsorship and promotional opportunities through Facebook and Oculus, right? Which we know happens to a lot of VR developers. And then they were at South by Southwest, and people were like, what is this 9/11 game? And the filmmaker's like, it's not a game. It's not a game. Please, it's not a game. And it's just like desperate to be like, it's a documentary film, not a game.
The curse of games.
It made me feel very bad for them because it's like, okay, there are downsides to accepting money from Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes.
Because everyone will be like, what is Mark Zuckerberg trying to do now with this thing that you made? And you're like, I was just trying to make a documentary. So I think it's sort of a tragic story. But it's tragic in a comic. It's really, I feel really bad, honestly. And then this person, actually, this journalist bothered to write a review of it and saying like, oh, it was really difficult to watch. There's all this archival footage that's sort of put together into an experience that
all right, I can see what they're trying to do, like make it really affect you because it's all sort of first person view, right? Okay, one more thing about the metaverse, and this is actually a recommended read. If you want to know like what the big deal is, I guess this is not really an explainer, but this is a piece by this guy Wagner James Au. Did you ever run across Wagner James Au back in your games journalist days?
I think so. It sounds very familiar, but of course I always love to read about Second Life whenever I see about it. So I feel like I must have.
He was basically doing the Second Life beat for many years. He used to write for Salon, and he would write about virtual worlds. I think he was part of that community Terra Nova that was all like people thinking about virtual worlds. And so he gave this big long interview about like whether he thinks metaverses are interesting at all and what Facebook is doing wrong. And I actually thought, okay, for writing about the metaverse, this is not, it's actually not a whole bunch of hype because he's not trying to sell one. And because he's in love with Second Life, which now seems so quaint and wonderful and beautiful to all of us. I'm like, remember Second Life? I used to love that place. It's like, I went there once.
I think what's important about this piece is more like historicizing things, because at the very least, because it is true of thinking of like, when you just kind of create a new word for something and then attach it to all these other values, it might seem like, oh, this is something new. But actually, there's a whole history to like virtual worlds, and also people who have been experimenting on what works and doesn't work, which is kind of what the entire piece is about, right?
Yes.
And so I think that's kind of what I feel like we should take from this is like when we see inevitable blunders in like the metaverse and Facebook doing all this stuff, then like we can't just be like, oh, they're just trying their best with this new kind of technology. It's like, no, like we actually have been sitting with this for about 2 decades.
Right, they're completely ignoring this whole large creative community. Now, you know, it's not my thing. Like, did you ever hang out in Second Life extensively?
Extensively, no.
Yeah,
I did a little bit.
I went now and then, and I've watched a lot of prank videos set in Second Life. I find that genre amusing.
Yeah.
Where someone is like, I built an enormous brutalist structure next to your mansion, and it blocks out the sun.
That's horrible.
Like, yes, that's what you should be doing in Second Life. So I'm afraid that's my interest. But yeah, I sort of appreciate them, right? They've been doing, and Wagner James Au points out that these people are virtual world aficionados, right? They're not just diehard Second Life people. They're like they go to events in Second Life, and then later on they go to a party in VR chats, right? And then they go over to, I don't know if they really go to Roblox. It's like swarming with 12-year-olds, but.
Yeah, I think what's unfortunate is that instead of, let's say, like looking at Second Life, then have to like iterate or evolve on it, I think what the metaverse is really going to do is be like, how can we turn World of Warcraft into Office software?
Right.
You know, and that's kind of what is like deeply just like soul sucking.
But is anyone going to show up until they're required to for their HR meeting?
I mean, I just wonder when like it all comes in trade-offs, right?
Yeah.
Where people are kind of like finding a break from like going to the office, like at least like people outside of our industry right now, which is like education. So we're being forced inside of our office. But like for other people who are now like feeling liberated from office spaces, like I can see this sort of contingency because of like I have friends who work places. And when you're remote in other companies, they'll like track to see if you're on your computer. Like there's like a lot of like crazy invasive technology to see. I went on a date with someone who says that he made a robot to move his mouse like a little bit, like every like 15 minutes, so we can play like Valorant or something
using a controller.
Yeah. And so like it was just like one of those things where like there already is like this weird just like way, like kind of weird like labor relations of like where are we existing,
right?
You know. And I think the metaverse is going to probably like the sort of like WoW but Office software is probably going to become something like that.
I guess it is a worry that like maybe in 5 years we're going to be looking back at like Second Life and VR chat, and Facebook will have just absorbed or destroyed all of them. Yeah. And so all these people who are into this will have nowhere to go but into like Facebook's dystopian version of it, where they'll be like, I hate this place, but it's the only. But now we all have to go there, just like everyone feels like they had to have a Facebook account. I mean, I think a lot of people unfortunately close them, but they're like, how else would I know what's going on? I'll never get invited to a birthday party.
Yes.
I don't know whether we're still in that moment, but I guess that's their business practice, right? So I feel bad for folks like Wagner James Au. He at the very end of this article, if you go down to the bottom, Logan, he does raise this interesting idea. He says, well, maybe virtual worlds are a little bit better than social media because you can't have this like constant barrage of contextless anger and emotion when really you're like, you feel like you are somewhere. Like he's sort of positing this idea that this illusion of being somewhere, which we make fun as like the immersive fallacy around here, right? But that it might actually make people a little bit more inhibited or more likely to act as if they're human beings instead of just voices yelling at each other on Twitter.
For sure. I think because like social media still feels like it's not a place, it's on your phone, right? It's like almost like a website that I visit, but I'm not really. Whereas like in a digital world, you do at least you're in place because you can't see everything, and you also know that you can't see everything. Whereas at least in social media, it does a job of like giving you so much information that you don't even know that you don't, or you probably intellectually know that you don't see everything, but you can't fathom seeing everything because you're just getting so much at once, right? So you're kind of like not actually aware of like being in place when it comes to social media. So I agree with that, and there's a lot of interesting ways in which like for actually I was just thinking about the Games 101 talk we have by Laura Clark about communication systems and like MMOs and how they're like place-based versus not, and how it also has this sort of like line of like how games are being turned into services the more they are taken out of place.
Right, because they sort of get flattened, and then suddenly there is no place. It's just like chat channels.
Right, so if anything, what might be useful is kind of like a circle back to Second Life, kind of like being in place.
And I wonder, is Meta going to care about any of this good quality, or do they just want to track every single motion of your head and eyes and arms so they can predict exactly what you're going to do inside of a virtual world? Ugh, it's tiring. Okay, we should move on to our second and even more depressing, terrible topic. So if you have not heard about this video, which Logan's got up on the screen right now, from People Make Games. People Make Games, brought to you by like a team of investigative journalists that includes a longtime friend of the Game Center, Quentin Smith, is involved along with this fellow whose name I forget. Peter somebody. They dropped this on Friday, and it got a lot of discussion because it's talking about 3 different studios. They're all affiliated with Annapurna, the publisher who's known for investing in interesting work in games that have strong narratives and games that have sort of real world themes, like all sorts of things that seem good on the surface. But there are no less than 3 separate studios where there was abusive behavior pretty much coming from the creative lead or founder of the studio, the makers of Florence, and then of course Fulbright with Gone Home and Tacoma, where Steve Gaynor has basically been revealed as somebody who was being awful, especially to female employees at Fulbright. And then I think the one that got the most attention, maybe because it was surprising to a lot of people, was Phenomena. The studio set up by former That Game Company alum Robin Hunicke, who has for a long time been a very notable voice speaking out for diversity in the game industry, for women in games, for making the game industry a better place, but has been accused by a lot of her employees, former employees, colleagues of being incredibly toxic. So I wanted to mention this because, so back when the news about Fulbright dropped, we talked about it here as well as on social media, because we have a lot of alumni and who are working even now at Fulbright or who are formerly involved in that company. We're also connected to Robin Hunicke. I think actually in this video, there is a clip that takes place at the NYU Game Center because she came and talked about her career in games and challenges that she's faced over the years, being a woman in games, at our practice conference several years ago. And a lot of us know her socially, right? So I don't know what you know Robin. I don't know if you've ever collaborated with her on anything.
No, but like I used to live in the Bay Area.
Right. Okay. So
I used to have like a working. Well, I had a friendship with her, you know, and so it was something that like, it's interesting to me because as someone like, as you kind of mentioned earlier, like there was just a moment in time. I mean, like end of 2014 that I decided like I'm not good with games anymore.
What happened at the end of 2014?
No idea. And so I was and that was because of a whole bunch of different factors, not only just something like, you know, massive scale abuse, but I think around that time, thinking about who was like, I just kind of like lost my train of thought, but I left all of this because of seeing a repetition of all of the things that we were talking about in 2012, 2013, 2014. Right. And then now I'm kind of seeing things, and I'm like, wow, like things really have not changed. Like, despite the fact that like we had a whole bunch of like, you know, like companies like Intel and like all these other like AAA companies who are saying like, we care about these topics. That like now, like a decade later from like things, when I really started becoming active in this space, I'm like, wow, like we all really just bought into the sort of like optical illusion of just like mix and stir diversity, and thought it was going to solve our problems, that we can just keep games the same, just add new people to it.
Like just throw some people in here. Right. And I don't know, I'm thinking so much about the dynamics involved here. Like how does this happen, right? It's I think you used the term when you were talking about this on Twitter, cosmetic diversity, right? So that's like partially referring to this idea of like just swap new people in, but also to the fact that somebody who may be oblivious to how harmful their own behavior is can talk a good game,
right?
And then people think like, oh, that person's on the right side,
right?
And I don't know. Do you feel like that illusion is breaking down at all? That people don't just take it for granted? That like, well, you're not one of those terrible right-wing reactionary like white supremacists, so you must be okay. You're on this side of the fight.
Right. Well, I think we should be particular about what we're talking about here, right? Which is like, we decided as an industry, I guess, you know, the industry has decided that particular kinds of voices should be seen as virtuous and the change in games. Right. And those are voices that both know the talking points about diversity and still play the game of the industry as it currently stands. So that means, are you someone who still wants to create a games company that creates basically the same kind of games in the same kind of way, and still like does not trouble how money is made and how money is distributed in games? So
even if you take that second part out, though, right? If you look at, say, okay, Florence, the phenomenon is working on that VR game about the bird, and then you know the narrative game is from Fulbright. You could say, okay, that's not the totally traditional AAA model. It's like exploring new types of stories.
Publishers, right? Like it just
the business model
it didn't
is still
disrupt the business model. So basically, like the ways in which games became made just started to expand and envelop those things. But it didn't change inside the industry how games are made and our relationships to one another.
Right. And also I think what a lot of people have pointed out is that all three of these stories, they're kind of about auteurs, right, who are creative leads at the studio, and that they have to be the vision keeper. And I think publishers like that, right?
Right. Well, I would say, like, I have like a couple of like feelings about that. What I would say is that there is a there's a CEO orientation, right? It doesn't matter who the CEO is. I mean, if they're a nice, interesting, you know, forward sounding person, that's great. But like, you don't need to be an auteur to be a crappy CEO.
Right. And to be abusive.
You know, to be abusive.
Yeah.
Now, what I think the auteur aspect is so important to us is because we feel there's like a sort of like social value to people who have those sorts of qualities, and we just kind of tend to not think critically too much about people who seem to have
people excuse their behavior. They're
Exactly.
like, oh, okay, they're having a hard day, like
Right.
they're like have a lot on their mind, they're having to make all these creative decisions. And yeah, it goes back to famous painters or musicians and stuff who are complete jerks and have that excuse because they're geniuses. Right. So yeah, there's so much to reckon with, and I really wonder, I don't know, in Robin's case, I've introduced her a couple times at different things, and I always introduced her by saying she was one of the first person in the game industry that I saw actually stand up in front of a huge group of people and be like, this environment is hostile to women because of the way that like women are being portrayed on the one. And she did all of that, right? And I feel like it, at some level, sometimes there's cognitive dissonance, but I feel like I'm actually struggling something different. I'm struggling to understand how like those actually sometimes go hand in hand with each other, right? That the person who is like has the personality to be like to like yell and stand up and fight, sometimes over time, if they're if they are rewarded for that and told like your voice is really important in this way that you're talking about, but please follow this same leadership structure,
right?
Be the important creative voice. That kind of pressure cooker can make someone lean towards the dark side of themselves, right?
It's called survival, right?
Yeah.
It's like a lot of people turn and don't become self-aware when trying to fight for survival. And you can, unfortunately, when someone just allows their career to be so public and prolific, you can start to see when someone starts to, have how their survival instincts have started to turn into unhealthy, abusive instincts.
Right. I just feel like I've seen it over and over again with people of all sorts of genders, right? That like, okay, as soon as they're like, start to be like, oh, I'm being rewarded for being a creative genius or whatever. Right. And now I have to like, there's a higher level of scrutiny and pressure on me that it does something bad to some people. Yeah. Or like, there ought to be like a certain type of therapy or immunization against like, okay, do not turn into that person if this happens to you. And it just seems really like a really hard problem. There are some comments in chat. I think Salty Horse is pointing out that at least painters don't usually lead teams. They just abuse their assistants and their partners instead. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, and Alexander King is saying, yeah, it's possible for someone to be abusive at a personal level but still do good work. And that was, I think, the crushing quote in here for me, was someone saying they didn't know how to speak out because they felt like she was still somehow a net positive for the game industry. That's a really rough place to be in. And there it is. I think she's a net positive good in the industry. But you have to kind of hope that like, okay, look, if Robin Hunicke stepped aside and said, I need to work on myself, somebody else is going to hopefully step up. Right. And maybe it would have been hard to do that in 2004 when I first saw her like speak out. But hopefully now we're at the point where you don't need Robin Hunicke to do all of that positive messaging.
Yeah, I think that there's also a little bit of the catch in that, though. Yeah. The fact that you're always replaceable as someone who, now that we're in this industry of diversity and everyone is being, like, now you are replaceable and you can be burnt out. Now, of course, I guess you have autonomy and control over your actions and how, I guess, you react to burnout. Yeah. But I think there is some other thing that we should think about is it is true that someone like Robin has been really, really like, OG in like, bringing up feminism in games in this place. But it doesn't, and so we should be thinking about what is the climate for people who are advocating for change in games. Are we noticing patterns of abuse and burnout and all these other factors? And is there some larger structural change that we can be doing so we don't have to say like, well, if you want to be a successful advocate in games, you must also abuse your employees to make like these like particularly good games, which I feel like is a thing that happens.
Yeah, no, it seems to happen over and over again. And it's seriously, it's structural problems. And yeah, I don't want people to be replaceable, right? I think everybody has their own like individual contributions to make to a creative space, but I do want people to be able to step back.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, and to be like somebody else to step forward.
I mean, that's what I did. Because I'm like, y'all can take it from here.
Well,
like,
you stepped in a different direction to do other types of things, right? Yeah. So that kind of change is healthy, and not feeling like, well, we need this person to keep doing exactly the same thing. Can really be unhealthy. Other people are pointing out, Denny Hawk saying, that taking a public stance presupposes that trust from new parties. Like, so once someone is identified as, oh, you're a positive role model in the industry,
right,
then it just more stuff accrues to them. It's a reason, I think that one of the best practices is to elevate other people, right? To not be like, always be the go-to person, but to have enough of a network of others, like and people who are maybe you're mentoring or whatever, that you actually spread this stuff around, right? Instead of being a linchpin. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit difficult because of how the lack of support, right? Where I think a lot of people are like, well, who is mentoring X person? Like, there's some people who don't have mentors and support, but must then try to cultivate the next generation, if one will. So, like, where does that, like, emotional labor and the support for that come from, right? And I think we really take that for granted. I don't think abusing your employees is a really good excuse for the feeling like tired out like that, but I do think that we have a larger conversations of like, who do we expect to change the games industry and at what cost?
Right, and because it is going to take some structural change. Folks are pointing out in chat, thanks to Alexander King for saying, look, it's not just about individuals needing therapy, right? Although that might also be part of it.
Everyone get therapy.
Right, everyone should have access to that and get it. But but also, if there's a structural situation in which it makes sense for an owner to abuse their employees, then it will happen. Yeah. And it will happen with people of certain types of personality, and those patterns will just repeat over and over again. So it is a call, I think, for broader and more fundamental structural change. A couple notes before we wrap up. I wanted to give a shout out to a few other of Robin Hunicke's colleagues on Twitter. As an academic program in games here, this is AM Dark talking about how the same type of abuse and nightmarish work conditions persisted also in Robin Hunicke's academic job at UC Santa Cruz. And so I want to say, just speak out in support of people like AM Dark, who's also an alumnus of our incubator here, and other folks like Misha Cardenas and Nathan Altis, all sort of doing something very difficult and speaking publicly about problems in their department. This is a very hard situation, and it just goes to show the sphere of the academy isn't immune to any of this either, and that we have to, create better work conditions where people are not abusing their authority inside schools as well.
Yep, I think it is an obligation for us to look forward and kind of be that place where we can be like, look, like the industry is a really hard place to be in, and you should not have to put up with it. So let's think of something else together.
And final link, if you haven't checked it out already, our very own Mattie Brice wrote a very long thread. This was the return. This was the return to the discourse. A tweet. You did a tweet storm, Mattie. It's okay. It happens every once in a while.
It does.
You don't have to keep doing it.
I won't.
That was Maddie's pulling back,
moment of weakness.
But check out her tweet storm on these on this topic for more. And with that, we are going to sign off. Thank you all for joining us today.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Credits. There we go. Thank you so much for that, Naomi and Mattie. That was The Discourse, and this has been Game Center Live. 1 second. Yes, thanks again for tuning in. Thank you all so much to our hosts and our guests that joined us on the show today. And thank you to everyone in chat for tuning in. As a reminder, don't forget to tune in this Thursday at 7 p.m. on this channel for Jesper Juel's lecture series talk. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.